In the beginning, God created the heavens, the earth, and web development. All right, welcome to the series. So what we're going to start off with is Visual Studio Code. You should download this. I'm using Windows. I also use a Mac. Well, sometimes I use a Mac. I use one for work. But whatever your operating system is, be sure to download it and get it up and going. It should be relatively easy. So before we get into opening Visual Studio Code and some things that may help you out insofar as extensions, this series is going to cover HTML, CSS, JavaScript. We're going to do some jQuery in there. We're going to do some PHP. And then if I'm not, completely exhausted by the end, we may do some additional future forward looking things after you've kind of gone through the rigor of everything. Now, if you're watching this from when I first post this video, the series is not complete yet. I'm releasing it in chunks. But if this is further down the line and everything has been realized and, let out, awesome. I'm glad I got it done. But if you have any questions or need some clarity on things, sometimes I will be able to respond. Other things may seem like I'm going to have to do a code review, and those items I may not be as inclined to want to help out with solely because I have a full-time job, I have a significant other, I have a puppy, and my time is extremely limited. So there may be some comments and I read, and I do read all the comments. It's not like right now I have a ton anyways. And I will try to do my best on deciding, do I make another video? Do I respond? But sometimes you kind of just have to dive in and figure it out for yourself, learn how to Google better. And I hate to kind of throw you out into the ocean like that, but I'm just trying to let you know how my time is as a creator. So with that little spiel, we have Visual Studio Code. Hopefully you've downloaded it, set it up, everything's running fine. Now, if you come over here and you click into this little extensions guy right over here, you can see I have a bunch of crap going on here. And so don't worry too much about this. The ones that I'm going to point out, I think are going to be the ones that may help you out starting off. And then as you get better, you get different kinds of, things you want to work on, you will find other extensions. That's kind of how it worked for me. So the auto rename tag is very, very helpful. It saves you a lot of typing time. A lot of these things that I'm going to show you are going to save you time typing. And yeah, you want to build up that muscle memory of what it's like to code. But sometimes you could save milliseconds here and there. And at the end of the year, end of a week, month, whatever, you notice that time. Another one is you could have themes. You're going to notice I have a few themes throughout here. Sometimes you want to switch up how things are color coordinated, how they look. That's cool too. Just, do that at your own leisure. Another one that is interesting that I've used before is bracket pair colorizer. Sometimes when you're using a bunch of parentheses, and this isn't, for the first, 15, 20, or not really till you hit JavaScript, is this going to be ultra important. But I like to have some kind of colorizer visual thing to separate out what's going on. So you don't need this right away, but I would just, install it in advance. Color picker is really nice. As you can see over here, this allows you to go in and you could actually pick out your colors in a visual manner. And so rather than go to a website and try to see, what's the RGB of this or what's the hex code, you could kind of just do it inside of your IDE right here, which is really nice. And if you ever need help in how does this work, you could go back to extensions and you could go to what you've already installed, click on it, and it'll open this tab up here and you'll be able to read the instructions. So as we're going on through here, ESLint, not till we get into JavaScript, but you could install it later on. Highlight matching tags is important because sometimes you're going to have a tag, an open and closing tag, which you may not know what that is yet, and you're going to have a lot of junk in between them. So this is actually really, really, really nice for when you get into more, I would say, larger code bases. And I don't say large and it's scary, but you just have more going on and it just helps keep you organized. Another one is Intellisense for CSS names in HTML. anything you see Intellisense on concerning Visual Studio Code, I recommend downloading it. Intellisense helps out tremendously. There's just some things you want automated for you. You know, it's one of those. I'm just going to tell you right now. A lot of the stuff I don't have memorized. A lot of the series I've looked up, I've went over, I've restudied, because there's a lot of stuff I know how to do out of the gate. I mean, tons of stuff. I've been doing this for many, many, many years. But I've never made it my goal to really memorize a ton or just memorize enough to get the job done. You know, it's like you go to a tool shed, you may not know which nail you need, but you know roughly what the size is. And that's kind of how web design works. It works just like any other real engineering, architectural kind of field. So let's see, live server is, you're not going to need that right away, but I do recommend installing that anyways, because as we get to more advanced intermediate level websites, it's a nice way to kind of just launch your code without having to do a lot of work for you. As we see, we have more themes, icons, all this other stuff. The NPM and NPM Intellisense, that stuff is awesome. That's more advanced, intermediate level stuff. You don't need it now, but I would put this on your list of things to download later. This one, Path Intellisense. This is one of those secret weapons. This Path Intellisense is pretty cool because when you have a bunch of files inside of your website and you have to point to one, sometimes it's easy to do. Other times you have a folder instead of a folder, then there's a file, and then you have to navigate out of that file. And this is just a very easy way of helping you set up links and point to things that you need. I cannot recommend this enough. This other one here, Peacock, is cool. I'm probably not going to use this at all in this series, but if you're using multiple Visual Studio Code windows, this is a way to color coordinate like this blue, and I think there's some other things it changes colors on. And so if you're working on a web development project, you could keep it blue, but say you're doing something in Python, you can make this orange. So when you bring it up, you're like, oh, this is my Python project because it's an orange. That's actually a very, very, very helpful one. And let's see, any other stuff? The Visual Studio Intellicode. Yeah, this stuff is pretty cool too. This is not something you're going to need right away, but any kind of assisted anything I could get on here is, I'm just clicking on it because sometimes it'll also help you catch errors or, you know, really just overall save time. So yeah, this is Visual Studio Code. These are some of the things I recommend. For your basic HTML, you're not going to need a lot, but yeah, we'll see you in the next video.